Megan, and welcome to my garden here in Zone 6A, Southern Ontario, Canada. And welcome to my YouTube channel called The Seasonal Abode. Now, since it is December and it's snowing and it is very chilly, I'm not going to be sharing a gardening project with you today. But I thought it would be fun to make a video showing the start to finish process of year one of this perennial border in front of my kitchen garden here. I have made many videos over the course of this year with the design process and what the plants were that we added into this space. But I thought it would be fun to put it all in one video. I love seeing videos like that. This garden never had a name. And today my daughter said, you know what, Mom, we can see the sunset behind it. So let's call it the Sunset Garden. So this is going to be a video detailing the start and the year one progress of the Sunset Garden. I hope you'll enjoy this video, friends, and that you'll consider subscribing. Now let's get to that video footage.
So back in March of this year, I took out my drone and I flew it above the kitchen garden that we put in 2023. I always find it super helpful to go above and to kind of get an idea of the area and the lay of the land. It was quite a wet spring. We had a lot of rain and we have very clay soil. So it took a bit for me to be able to get in to work in this area. And I chose to go with the no-dig method. I have a video that I will link above, and I'm also going to link a playlist because I think I'm going to put together a playlist detailing the designing from start to finish of this garden as well. This first video, I took you along as I put in the no-dig area. So I laid down cardboard, which I picked up from Costco for free. They have these liners that they store in between the pallets of the produce that they sell, and you can get them for free so that they're large pieces without any fold marks or anything like that. So they're great to use if you're looking at starting a no-dig bed for yourself this coming year. And then it's really just layering a very thick layer of mulch or compost on top of the cardboard. I went in after the fact with my edger, and then I edged the bed in after I put down the cardboard and the mulch. Then that same day I went in and I picked up and placed out 6 little lime punch hydrangeas. So I put 3 on the one side of the arbor and 3 on the other side of the arbor, and then we planted those in together. I wanted to get them a good start as it was early in the season, and I wanted their roots to establish so that in this first year they would have a good amount of growth happening. Then in April, I started adding in some shrubs and some perennials into this new bed. Started with 2 emerald green cedars that I picked up at Home Depot, and I planted them together with you on either side of the arbor at the entrance of the kitchen garden. I think they look very beautiful, and I really liked the bones and the structure that they add to this new bed here. Then continuing on, I started edging the new no-dig area. I waited a little bit. I wanted to get my hedge in, kind of measure out how large they would be getting, and then at that time determine how deep I wanted my border to be. It's always a good idea to go a little bit wider than you think you're going to need because the plants grow quite quickly, and 6 feet minimum, I would say, for a border for sure. So then in the rest of this video, I take you along as I add in some perennial plantings into this area. So I laid out all the perennials that I was planning on planting and went over what the names are. We planted some Cat's Pajama Nepeta, some Helen von Stein Lamb's Ear, Lemon Jade Sedum, and I also added in some Millennium Allium as well. And I just kind of go over where I'm planting them, where I wanted them to be positioned. I also picked up and planted in the Generous Gardener Climbing Rose by David Austin on the one side of the arbor. The other side of the arbor had already had a previous planting of the New Dawn Climbing Rose, so it was in its second year, but the Generous Gardener was planted up on the right side of the arbor there. And then I went ahead and I mulched in these plantings and watered them in well. Then come May, I took you along as I added in some annuals into this garden to add a little bit of color to it as the perennials were getting established in their first season. Then come June, I took you along for a tour of the kitchen garden. I showed you what the new planting area was looking like, as well as the vegetable and flower beds inside of the kitchen garden. Everything was growing beautifully at that time of the year. The annuals had put on a lot of growth already in a short amount of time, and the garden really was in its prime time. Come July and August, the annuals really took off. So the potato vine and the petunias really took up a lot of area, which I was hoping for in the first year. I really needed to go out there and make sure that I was maintaining them, keeping them in check, as they would have taken over the entire new bed if I had let them. I let them go for July and August, and they really provided a great ground cover to keep weeds out of the empty spaces in the front of the border for this first season. Come August, the potato vine really started to get out of hand, and I found that I was constantly cutting it back and trimming it. We had a really good summer for it. It was warm and it was humid and it was just taking over. So I was finding myself weekly having to cut it back quite drastically. But I also took you along in August to show you the progression of the perennials. They were changing. The little lime punch were putting on the rosy hue for the fall, and the perennials had put on quite a bit of growth, specifically the Helen von Stein lamb's ear. Come September, I figured enough is enough. This sweet potato vine was just overtaking everything, and I was constantly having to cut it back. So in September, I took you along for a fall planting video in which I first removed the sweet potato vine and the petunias, and I planted in some sweet flag oberzuki grass, flanking the front of the border, and on the ends of the back of the border beside the little lime punch hedge, I added in a Cheyenne sky grass from Provenwinners. Come October, the frost began in our area in Zone 6, and I took you along as I added in some tulips and some daffodils. I planted in a mixture of the Queen of the Night tulips alongside of the Apricot Pride, and then I went in a swale around with the Mount Hood daffodils. I'm so excited to see come spring what this garden bed will look like in year 2. I hope you've enjoyed this video, friends. I'm going to finish it off with some footage of the fall as well as our first snowfall. But this is year 1 of the Sunset Garden. I hope you've enjoyed, that you'll consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.